Breaking news. It's official. According to filings from August 2025, confirmed by Reuters and Cycle World, Polaris has sold Indian motorcycle. And here's the twist. It wasn't Harley, Honda, or any rival manufacturer. It was a Los Angeles investment firm called Carolwood LP. No bikers, no builders, just financiers. After more than a decade reviving Indian from the ground up, Polaris walked away quietly. No press tour, no celebration, just ink and exit. If you own an Indian, ride one, or ever dreamed of it, this story matters. What happens next will decide whether that badge still means craftsmanship or just another brand sold for profit. The quiet sale heard loud. Indian Motorcycle, the brand that's outlasted wars, recessions, and bad boardrooms, just changed hands. After more than a decade under Polaris Industries, the company quietly sold Indian to a private equity firm called Carolwood Limited Partnership. No fanfare, no victory laps, just a press statement and a line on a balance sheet. For a name that helped build the image of the American road, that kind of silence feels heavy. The sale became public through investor filings in the summer of 2025, confirmed by outlets like Reuters, Cycle World, and Barron's. On paper, it looked like just another transaction. But for anyone who's ever run a wrench over a chief or rolled through Sturgis on a Springfield, it felt like history shifting underfoot. Indian isn't just a brand. It's the sound of open valves and old pride. Born before Ford's Model T, it's survived bankruptcies, mergers, and neglect. Polaris resurrected it in 2011 with millions in tooling and engines like the Thunderstroke and Power Plus. Proof American craft still bites. So when Polaris sold Indian, the shock ran deep. Negotiated quietly, the deal left Carolwood in control and Polaris holding a minority share. Officially a strategic transition, it felt like déjà vu. Riders feared layoffs or cost-cutting, yet Spirit Lake kept building. The lines ran, the chrome gleamed, and while the surface stayed calm, everyone sensed the current below was changing again for America's oldest motorcycle name. And to understand where it's all heading, you have to know who just took the throttle. Carolwood LP Unmasked. Carolwood Limited Partnership isn't a name many riders have ever heard. Based in Los Angeles, this private equity firm built its fortune buying mid-sized American companies, the kind that make real things. Machine tools, lifestyle goods, and precision parts. Their strategy is simple but cold. They buy solid brands that have loyal followings, polish the numbers, raise efficiency, and sell them later for a profit. Until now, they'd never owned a motorcycle manufacturer. That alone tells you this deal isn't about passion for the open road. It's about potential yield. Carolwood's filings mention long-term growth in legacy lifestyle manufacturing. Finance speak for betting that nostalgia still sells. They're buying more than machines. They're buying the emotion riders built over generations. But Indian's worth isn't in spreadsheets. It's in sound, pride, and craftsmanship. Carolwood's record is mixed. Some turnarounds, some quick exits once profits peak. Riders know this story. Too many owners drain soul for yield. Ducati proved investment can work when passion stays in charge. Others weren't so lucky. Carolwood now pledges independence, continuity, and American-built integrity. Those words play well, but belief won't come from statements. It'll come from steady hands, real welds, and the roar that reminds riders the brand's soul still belongs to them. And if the new buyer raises eyebrows, the bigger question still stands. Why did Polaris walk away in the first place? If you've ever owned or dreamed of owning an Indian, hit that like button and drop your thoughts below. Riders deserve real talk, not headlines, and your voice keeps it honest. Why Polaris cashed out? Polaris Industries revived Indian back when most had written it off as dead history. They invested serious money, rebuilt the lineup from the frame up, and reintroduced the brand to riders who thought the dream was gone. But even with all that effort, Indian only made up about 7% of Polaris's total revenue by the end of 2024. The real profits came from off-road vehicles. The Rangers, RZRS, and snowmobiles that sold by the tens of thousands each year. Motorcycles, by comparison, were a passion project that couldn't keep up with the numbers Wall Street wanted to see. Analysts called the sale earnings accretive, meaning Polaris could boost margins and please investors by letting go of Indian. At just 7% of revenue, it wasn't worth the boardroom effort, so they cashed out while value was high. Cold math, but predictable. Yet the move reveals more. Legacy now bends to spreadsheets. Indian gave Polaris pride and credibility, but loyalty doesn't fit quarterly charts. Selling to Carolwood marks motorcycles as expendable, not essential. Business logic won the round, leaving riders uneasy. When passion meets profit, one always pays the price, and history shows which side usually loses. Which brings us to the promises that came right after the signatures. Words meant to calm a restless crowd. Before we ride deeper into this story, check the description for the gear and accessories real riders trust. Not the brands in boardrooms, but the ones built for the road. Promises on paper. The official statement from Polaris Investor Relations and Carolwood Limited Partnership tried to cover every concern before it even hit the rumor mill. It promised business as usual. All current dealers would stay authorized. All existing warranties would remain valid. The Spirit Lake and Monticello facilities would continue operating at full capacity. On the surface, nothing would change for owners, employees, or retailers. The message was clear: don't panic. The brand is safe. But seasoned riders have heard that tone before. Business as usual often lasts until the first round of budget reviews. Corporate transitions always read calm, but the truth shows months later. When contracts shift, memos tighten budgets, and promises meet reality. Carolwood pledges continuity, echoing Polaris's 2011 revival vows. Riders have heard it all before and wait to see if this time holds. The answers won't come from filings, but from torque specs, clean welds, and steady parts flow. Spirit Lake's output will tell the story. Paper speaks of confidence. Metal reveals truth. In the end, it's the builders, not executives, who decide whether Indian's pride survives another round of signatures. Numbers, as they say, never lie, but they also never tell the whole story. And once Carolwood starts counting, the math behind the move may show where this road really leads. The math behind the move. Every private equity firm works from the same playbook. They buy, they fix, and they sell. In the world of finance, it's called creating efficiency. In a garage, it would be called tightening up the line, clearing the clutter, and getting every tool back on its pegboard. The goal is profit, not romance. For Carolwood Limited Partnership, buying Indian Motorcycle wasn't about building a shrine to history. It was about turning a legendary brand into a leaner, more productive business that could be sold again one day for more than they paid. That formula can build fortunes, or burn them down. Carolwood didn't invent this playbook. It's shaped American industry for decades. When done right, discipline revives legacy. When abused, it drains soul. Ducati's early 2000s turnaround proved structure can fuel passion, but many others were gutted chasing quarters. Carolwood's statements call Indian a cornerstone of American craftsmanship, hinting they grasp what they bought. Culture, not a logo. Their task now is balancing profit with pride, knowing every cut echoes through shops and streets alike. A motorcycle brand isn't a spreadsheet, it's a community. Carolwood must learn that truth fast, or risk learning it the hard way. To see whether that lesson is sinking in, we head to the heart of the operation, the factories that keep Indian breathing. Inside the plants. Drive into Spirit Lake, Iowa, early on a weekday morning, and you'll see the same line of pickups in the parking lot that's been there for years. Inside, the hum of assembly lines still carries the same rhythm it did under Polaris. Roughly 900 workers clock in, tighten bolts, and bring machines to life with practiced hands. There's no panic, no chaos, just a steady beat of American craftsmanship. That's the real pulse of Indian Motorcycle, not the headlines or the stock filings. The same goes for Monticello, Minnesota, where engineers test, refine, and rework designs. These towns have built more than motorcycles. They've built identity and pride. On the floor, little has changed. Shifts stay steady, trucks arrive on time, and supervisors still walk the lines. Carolwood's first directive, keep production smooth and morale steady, shows respect for fragile trust. The welders and machinists keep doing what they do best, building bikes right. The real test will come when budgets tighten and costs get counted. For now, the frames align by hand, engines run one by one, and the smell of oil still fills the air. Proof that American craftsmanship endures, steady and proud beneath the boardroom noise. But while the shop floor holds steady, another front line is already watching for tremors. The dealerships that keep those bikes rolling into the world. Dealers at the crossroads. Dealers always feel the shift first. They're the bridge between factory and rider, the ones who sense when something in the supply chain starts to wobble. Across the country, Indian dealerships are paying close attention to the fine print. Floor plan loans, rebate programs, and delivery schedules tell them more than any press release ever will. Early reports from large volume dealers in Ohio, Texas, and the Carolinas describe steady shipments and responsive factory reps, but also quieter conversations about inventory aging and turnover expectations. Those phrases may sound harmless, but to a dealer, they're code for how strict the new ownership plans to be about cash flow. Under Polaris, dealers benefited from long payment terms and generous rebates. Carolwood's leaner playbook favors tighter control, faster turnover, and closer profit tracking. That can keep business sharp, but only if relationships stay intact. Motorcycles sell on trust, not spreadsheets. For now, shipments flow and familiar contacts answer the phones. But every dealer knows change hits after the first quarter. Shorter terms or thinner rebates will test small-town shops first. The truth won't appear in headlines. It'll ride in with the next truck from Iowa, carrying both the weight of tradition and the cost of doing business. Yet behind all these numbers and schedules lies something even more delicate: the idea of what Indian actually means and how that meaning is treated in the language of business. Brand identity as asset class. In corporate finance, every name, logo, and slogan can be turned into a dollar figure. Heritage becomes an asset. Legacy becomes leverage. Carolwood now owns one of the most recognizable motorcycle identities in the world, and with it comes the temptation to treat that identity like any other commodity. Buy it, monetize it, and maybe one day sell it again. On paper, Indians' trademarks, history, and rider loyalty all carry measurable value. Investors can borrow against that value, use it to raise capital, or spin it into new product lines. That's how business works. But heritage doesn't live in spreadsheets. It lives in the sound of the engine and the trust of the people who ride behind that badge. When a brand's value is reduced to numbers, its meaning begins to fade. Riders don't choose Indian for profit margins. They choose it for a century of roads, hands, and pride. Heritage treated as collateral risks, destroying what built it. Carolwood's task is to turn value into stewardship, investing in legacy, not mining it. Promises of American assembly and continued design bring cautious hope. Identity can carry a price tag, but once sold twice, it's never the same. Indian's soul wasn't bought with money, and no sum can buy it back once it's gone. The accountants may run the numbers, but the heartbeat of a motorcycle brand always belongs to the people who ride, race, and keep it alive. And their reaction is already starting to ripple across the country. Owners in the mirror. When a company changes hands, the first people to feel it are the ones who already bought in. Across garages, forums, and dealer lots, Indian motorcycle owners asked the same three questions. Will my warranty still stand? Will I still get parts on time? And will my bike hold its value? Those questions carry more weight than any press release. They're personal. For many riders, an Indian in the garage isn't just transportation. It's proof of miles earned and craftsmanship respected. Losing that trust would cost more than any balance sheet could measure. Polaris and Carolwood confirmed warranties remain valid, parts flow unchanged, and dealers stay authorized, steadying anxious owners. Used prices for chiefs, chieftains, and challengers even rose as riders sought the last Polaris-built models. Confidence like that proves the legacy still holds. For practical owners, now's the time to document everything. Service slips, oil changes, invoices. Paperwork protects value and smooths any future claim. Transitions test patience, but a well-kept bike speaks louder than promises. Ownership isn't just motion, it's stewardship, preserving the metal and history that define true riders and the machines they trust. While individual owners focus on their own machines, the larger community has been busy finding its voice, equal parts cautious, loyal, and loud, the Brotherhood's pulse. Walk into any diner or roadside bar near a major rally, and the talk comes easy. Between coffee cups and chrome reflections, the same topic keeps rolling. What happens now that Indian has new bosses? In online forums and local clubs, the tone isn't panic, it's guarded curiosity. Most riders aren't ready to judge yet. They've seen brands come and go, promises rise and fade. They carry what one veteran called hope in one hand and a wrench in the other. That phrase sums up the moment perfectly. It's not naive optimism, it's earned patience. At this year's rallies, Indian tents overflowed with riders trading stories, tips, and cautious hope. The new ownership sparked debate, but the brotherhood around the badge stayed unshaken. Pride like that outlasts signatures and slogans. For these riders, American craftsmanship isn't nostalgia, it's identity. Each bike carries a century-old promise that metal and muscle still define freedom. They speak in torque and throttle, not marketing terms. Every shared story, every road mile, keeps that mechanical poetry alive. As long as those engines run and hands grip those bars, Indian's heartbeat will never fade. But across the state line in Milwaukee, another heartbeat has picked up pace. Harley-Davidson is watching, calculating, and quietly preparing its next move. If you care about where American motorcycles go next, subscribe now. We dig into the truth behind the brands, the machines, and the riders who still keep the soul alive. And comment what you ride and where you ride. We want to know. Rival sparks in Milwaukee. Harley-Davidson didn't need a memo to understand what this sale means. The minute Polaris announced the deal, eyes in Milwaukee turned toward the competition. Harley and Indian share more than a rivalry. They share an audience, a legacy, and a constant need to prove who owns the American road. For Harley, a reinvigorated Indian under new ownership could become either a threat or a blessing. Competition forces innovation, and that's something Harley has needed more than once in its long history. Analysts expect Harley to tighten production, guarding dealer margins as Indian gains fresh backing. If Carolwood invests in design or marketing, Harley may answer with financing deals, upgraded accessories, or stronger warranties, small moves that shift confidence fast. For riders, this rivalry is a win. Competition breeds quality and keeps both brands listening to the road. Touring comfort, heritage styling, and craftsmanship rise when pride's on the line. Two American icons, old rivals reborn, pushing each other to stay real. In an age of global sameness, their duel keeps individuality and the soul of American motorcycling alive and loud. The real proof of all this talk, though, doesn't come from boardrooms or spec sheets. It comes from the roar echoing off racetracks and rally grounds across the country. Rallies, races, and real proof. In the months following the sale, Indian Motorcycle didn't go quiet. Quite the opposite. The company confirmed its full racing calendar, including the King of the Baggers series, where Indian's challenger has built a reputation for punching above its weight. The race team's continued presence showed that Carolwood understood the value of performance as marketing. When riders see those machines take the checkered flag, it reinforces something numbers can't measure: credibility. Race programs cost money, but they pay back in trust, and trust is priceless in this world. Indian's demo trucks still roll coast to coast, from Daytona to Sturgis, where riders line up to feel the throttle and hear that unmistakable growl. No one cares who owns the company when the engine fires, only that it's real. By keeping its racing and rally commitments, Carolwood shows intent to preserve pride, not strip it. Actions like these speak louder than filings, proving continuity through presence. The brand still breathes, its heartbeat echoing in every mile, every handshake, every roar that reminds riders. Heritage isn't a logo, it's the sound of steel still running. But as the roar from the tracks and rallies fades into the distance, another engine is starting to hum quietly. This one powered by politics, economics, and the larger forces shaping American manufacturing itself. Heartland Economics. Drive through Spirit Lake, Iowa on any weekday morning, and you'll see what this sale really means. Pickup trucks line the parking lots outside the plant. Local diners open early to catch the first shift, and the sound of machinery hums under the prairie wind. This is not just a factory, it's the economic backbone of a small American town. When Polaris sold Indian to Carolwood Limited Partnership, local leaders and state officials moved fast to keep those jobs secure. Both Iowa and Minnesota offered targeted incentives, training grants, local tax credits, and infrastructure upgrades to ensure the new owners kept production at home. The mayors called it an investment in identity, and they weren't exaggerating. Spirit Lake's plant sustains hundreds of families, fueling local diners and tool shops alike. Regional agencies secured Carolwood's pledge for multi-year operational continuity, steady jobs, stable output. These towns know the pain of lost factories, but not this time. Spirit Lake and Monticello still hum with work, welders steady at their posts. That rhythm of labor, built on pride, not paperwork, remains Indian's truest foundation. The heartbeat no sail can silence. But beyond those factory gates, a larger pattern stretches across America. A new era where financiers buy legacy and craftsmanship becomes another line item on an investor's report. The private equity equation revisited. The sale of Indian Motorcycle fits into a growing national pattern. Across industries, private equity firms are buying up legacy manufacturers, the companies that built America's tools, guitars, boots, and machines. What once started as partnerships between craftsmen and local banks has turned into acquisitions by multi-billion-dollar funds based in New York or Los Angeles. The logic is always the same. Take something proven, make it more efficient, and sell it for profit. On paper, it sounds like progress. In reality, it raises the same question every time. Can heritage survive the quarterly ownership cycle? Consider what happened in other sectors. Tool companies that once made wrenches in Ohio now manufacture overseas under familiar brand names. Iconic guitar makers were bought, optimized, and sold again, often losing their soul in the process. The logos stayed the same, but the heart of the craft faded. Every industry tells a version of the same story. When financial firms replace family-run leadership, numbers start calling the shots. Private equity can revive a brand with fresh capital and modern tools, but too often cost-cutting replaces passion and turns heritage into marketing. Indian now stands as the test. If Carolwood honors its culture, it could prove finance and craftsmanship can coexist. If not, pride yields to profit. For those turning the wrenches, heritage isn't capital, it's responsibility, and real motorcycles are personal, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. And in the broader world of heavyweight motorcycles, that tension defines an entire market fighting to stay alive against the current of time. Where heavyweight motorcycles stand, step back from the spreadsheets, and the view of the motorcycle market tells its own truth. The heavyweight segment, big touring bikes, cruisers, and baggers, is shrinking in sheer numbers but growing in meaning. Riders are aging, yes, but they're also more dedicated than ever. The men and women still logging miles on full-dress tourers aren't casual consumers. They're lifers, veterans of decades on the road who treat motorcycles like old friends. Sales figures may dip, but loyalty has never been higher. Industry data from 2024 showed a single-digit decline in heavyweight registrations, yet used bike demand stayed strong. That means the market isn't dying, it's concentrating. New buyers are rarer, but they're serious. These riders care about torque, comfort, and durability. They want metal they can trust, not disposable tech. That's why heritage brands like Indian and Harley still matter. They offer continuity in a world obsessed with change. In today's market, value outweighs volume. Brands chasing mass appeal lose identity and trust. The smart ones focus on craftsmanship. Proving smaller can mean stronger. For riders, the name on the tank is a promise of endurance, not a product line. Every rally and long ride keeps that promise alive. The heavyweight bike endures through pride, skill, and tradition. The spirit still breathes because real builders never stopped believing. And as the market steadies, one truth becomes clear. The future of Indian and every other legacy brand will depend not on investors or trends, but on the people who ride, repair, and remember. The legacy ride ahead. In the end, ownership changes are just paperwork. What endures is the metal, the noise, and the people who keep the legacy alive. Every bolt turned at Spirit Lake, every mile ridden under the Indian badge, is a living act of preservation. Corporate strategies come and go, But the essence of a motorcycle brand lies in its riders, the ones who keep the chrome polished and the engines honest. That's where Indian's real future sits. Not in Carolwood's portfolio, but in the garages, rallies, and back roads of America. The responsibility now falls on everyone who calls themselves a rider. Maintain your machine. Support your local dealer. Tell the stories that connect generations of builders and bikers. That's how heritage survives. Not by waiting for corporations to honor it, but by living it every day. The American motorcycle industry has weathered depressions, wars, and recessions. It will weather private equity too, because culture doesn't exist on a balance sheet. It exists in the men and women who ride. When the paperwork fades and reports gather dust, the bikes will remain, lined up, rumbling, ready for the next generation. The welders who built them left fingerprints no accountant can erase. Heritage can be bought but never replicated. What built it all wasn't strategy, but craft, grit, and pride. The soul of Indian Motorcycle, and every true American brand, doesn't live in offices. It lives in the ride. Paper changes hands. Metal remembers. So that's where things stand. Indian Motorcycle now under new ownership, heading into uncertain roads. Whether Carolwood protects the legacy or chases profit, time will tell. But one thing's clear, the real soul of this brand isn't on paper. It's in the hands of the riders who keep these machines alive. If you believe craftsmanship still matters more than boardroom math, stick around. Hit subscribe, tap like, and drop your thoughts below.